damn fine cup of coffee. You can add that to my running list of David Lynch homages, but at the same time, that's because I'm drinking some of David Lynch's very own coffee. Shout out to Allegro Coffee, not a sponsor, obviously, but damn, I'm hopped up. So I figured I'd mention it just to let y'all know what you're about to get into. We're feeling caffeinated today. This is Requiem for a Tuesday. If you were somehow here by accident, I am once again, and probably always will be, Adam Pecora. Rate, review, subscribe to the show. Follow me on Instagram at adam.rfat. We got an email at rfatpodcast@gmail.com. So all those things, do all those things. And yeah. So for a little frame of reference, I'm recording this on Sunday morning. Because I usually go for like Monday morning, but at the end of this episode, gonna be making my bold NFL predictions. So if you are tapped in to to what has been going on in this program, I made my NBA picks, but like without watching. You know what I mean? Like didn't really pay attention to the bubble, and then just kind of went with whatever pretty loosely. Obviously, those were inaccurate, and I'll probably make some picks for what's going forward. But anyway, my point is, end of the episode today, going to be doing NFL picks, and wanted to get the tracking in before bias sets in. Because heartbreak starts week 1, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you are a Chicago Bears fan like I am. Pretty much a lose-lose for us. So, but I'm going to do that at the end. Because we got some other stuff to go into, ladies and gentlemen. And, frankly, I'm feeling pretty emotional about all of it. Now, this is a bit of a complicated issue for me, a conflicting issue, if you will, because yesterday, in preparation for the episode, getting ready, doing my homework, I watched I'm Thinking of Ending Things, the new Charlie Kaufman movie, I guess if we want to call it a movie. Spoiler alert for this opinion, I fucking hated it. But we're going to work our way backwards. You know how I like to get creative with my narrative storytelling here. So we're going to go all the way back to the beginning. And I'm going to give a little Kaufman rundown from my perspective. You know what I mean? I obviously don't know anything, frankly. Let's just be honest. But, I mean, Charlie Kaufman, for any background, I probably would have said up until this point, not that this movie knocked it so bad, but I'm kind of rethinking things. I'll get to that. My favorite writer, period, for movies. I mean, let's go down the list, shall we? Okay, so we open with Being John Malkovich. Huge. Okay, Human Nature? I'm going to go through all these individually in a minute, but adaptation, fucking home run. Dangerous Mind? But, there's some things in that. Eternal Sunshine, come on. We don't even got to talk about it. Synecdoche, Little Hoff. Rip Hoff? Sorry. Rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman. What a true artist. That comes off as a joke, I promise. Absolutely love Philip Seymour Hoffman. And also, side note, while we're talking about that, his son is confirmed to be in the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie, which, hitter, gonna be fucking great. Another San Fernando Valley set movie? Come on. What more could you want? But I digress. I think that PTA will end up coming up later at this rate. Anyway, where do we leave off? So, Synecdoche, New York, big break. Then we go animation debut, Anomalisa. Crazy. Okay, we're going to get into that one. And then we land with I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which, boy, I'm going to have a lot to say. Already do. I will. I did yesterday. I will tomorrow. But including on this episode, so we're going to get there. I would also like to let the record show that that sip at the beginning was genuine and was like the third one. So I'm just indicating that we're about only 4 sips in so far, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have never been on a motorboat, you're going to be in for a treat. Let me tell you that. Don't put me on 2 speed. You'll never hear a word. Something I've learned. I don't even really work on 1.5. If you listen to this show on 1.5, I mean, shout out to you. You must listen to like a lot of Twista and Busta Rhymes and shit, and you're just like, fast is my mode. I would recommend at least cutting your Adderall dosage, because I think that you're probably moving too quick for your own good, and that's going to catch up with you at some point in time. Get some sleep. I don't know, eat some CBD. Seems to be what all the kids are doing. I can't speak on it, but, some things help. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. All right. So, for the record, so I'm going to go through these in order, like I said. I didn't see these in order. I'll try to remember as I go along. I know I definitely saw Eternal Sunshine first. That was the big one, especially if you're like a sad kid. You know, all the sad little kids, they love shit about just like being sad. you know? Um, but I mean, Eternal Sunshine is obviously much more than just a sad boy flick. It's just like, when you're in high school and think that like your life is terrible, you're going to watch that movie and be like, oh, I get it. I've been through this, when obviously that is not the case. Great flick. Back-to-back weeks where we're just going to be repping Kate Winslet, which, boy, what a treat that is. Can I just make this into a Kate Winslet show? Probably not. But doesn't mean we can't try. Right, everybody? All right. So let's tap in. Let's get it started. So 1999, we got Being John Malkovich. Now, Charlie Kaufman's background was in like television on like sitcoms and shit. I don't really know how any of that works. I think he just worked his way up the biz. Don't know if like the shows he was on were like super hidden gems, or maybe they were just like, technically well written. I'm not sure. But frankly, the thing about Charlie Kaufman that's great is it doesn't really make sense how any of these movies got made, because the premises are unlike anything you would get. Basically, this is exactly my lane. It's 100% what I'm looking for in movies is Charlie Kaufman style, David Lynch style. It all just like fits a pattern of things I like. If we can go meta, if we can go surreal, in Kaufman's case, combining, probably Lynch's too, but I mean, that guy, you can't figure that guy out, which I'm going to get into when we get caught up, because frankly, I'm livid. But so Being John Malkovich, 99. This is when Charlie Kaufman was just a writer. And I think that is a pivotal thing. I don't know if he should be directing his own movies, but we'll get to that when we get to the directorial stuff. So, Being John Malkovich, 99, directed by Spike Jonze. Huge move. Spike Jonze, big skateboarding guy, music video guy. Obviously, later an Oscar winner and all that stuff. But they pretty much worked exclusively for them from the beginning. It was either Spike Jonze or Michel Gondry working with Charlie Kaufman. Amazing collaborations. It went well. So, yeah. But anyway, 99. I learned about this movie through I Love the 90s, which is basically how I learned about everything I know in life. So, shout out to Michael Ian Black and company. I really don't know what to say other than this movie's fucking amazing. Never seen anything like it before or since, really. Very specific thing. Huge for John Malkovich, let's just say. But I mean, a guy works on a half floor. He's a puppeteer. He finds a portal into the mind of this actor. It doesn't get much better than that. Little Cusack, not looking like himself, so that's fun. You gotta love Catherine Keener. She's only aged phenomenally. The roles just kept getting better for her as time went on. I'm gonna say Being John Malkovich aged incredibly well, especially as he has gone into more of a A-list type guy. It was like a character actor thing at the time. Anyway, overall, phenomenal movie. Is basically just what I'm getting at. The writing is unbelievable. All the shit that happens, like you would never, ever think of this idea. It is just brilliant and brilliant and brilliant. I think Oscar nominated, didn't win. Probably some bullshit. I'm going to assume that it's just like it didn't go over well at the time. I mean, it did, but you know what I mean? Like they wanted their fucking, I don't know, period piece garbage. Or wait, no, 99. So that's the American Beauty year, I think. So, that didn't age well. I think if we could go back, everybody would probably pick Being John Malkovich instead. But if you haven't seen Being John Malkovich, just go see it. It is unbelievable. It's nothing like you're going to see still. I mean, yeah, don't know how it got made. Absolutely excited that it did. And we're going to move on. Human Nature. Okay, not very good. Let's just be honest. It's like a comedy, I guess. Not very funny. This was Michel Gondry with Kaufman. If you haven't seen it, don't. I mean, it was pretty hard to find, frankly. I had to, go through it. So I was in a big Kaufman phase. I was like, I got to see all of these flicks, despite what the reviews tell me. I'm like, come on, it's got to be pretty good. It's Kaufman. Come on. It's some weird thing about, a caveman who, makes it to the present, but then, the scientist, wants to become an ape, with him. It's dumb. It's dumb. But, I mean, all Charlie Kaufman, there's, existential stuff. There's, weird off-kilter things. Just, a lot of self-reflection and all that stuff. And it gets a little weird. It's just too broad. The humor in it is too broad. A lot of just body humor because of the ape people. I barely remember it, frankly. I kind of had to sit through it so much as just watch it and then not like it. It was pretty rough at points. So that's definitely a skippable. But I mean, it's pretty much aces the rest of the way. So this is just a little blip until now. Obviously, but we're we're swinging back. We're getting there. Then we go to the fucking gem. One of my favorite movies. Period. I would say when I saw this changed my life, frankly. So this came out in 2002. By the way, what a tear this guy was on. From 99 to 2002, he had 4 movies. 2 in 2002, but your first script gets you a fucking Oscar. You're gonna be working for quite a bit. And I mean, Jesus. But adaptation, okay. I didn't see it when it came out in 2002, obviously. I was 7 years old. But I saw it a long time ago at this point, and I've seen it many times since. This was, I guess, what taught me what meta is. Meta commentary, meta comedy, whatever. It gave it a name. I knew that this was what I wanted, but I didn't know it. You know what I mean? I didn't know that this could happen. And it really hasn't up to this point, but the movie is basically a gonzo journalistic adaptation of a novel because so the plot of the movie is about Charlie Kaufman trying to adapt this book into a novel. But the movie itself is the adaptation of the novel. So it's him writing about him doing the movie in real life. And it just gets multi-layered from there, and it just kind of keeps going. And you can't blur the line between, what's a movie, what's the adaptation. And that's what happens in the movie. And it's kind of unavoidable. So it's crazy, is my point. But what's the most impressive thing about it is that you don't need the context of that to make it better. The movie's totally great on its own. You don't need to understand that Charlie Kaufman is the writer. You don't need to be aware of everything. Like, you don't need the context, which is huge, and it's still great. I mean, Meryl Streep's fucking in it. Like, it's just hitter performances. Again, crazy writing. Charlie Kaufman wrote a fictional brother for himself, and then they won the Oscar together. First fictional guy to win an Oscar. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that when you bring your fake character into reality. A comparison that I'm going to make later, or I guess it'll apply later to the newest film, that comes to mind is the movie I'm Still Here, like the Casey Affleck documentary about Joaquin Phoenix. Because that movie, as a movie, is garbage. But that movie, with context, I think is pretty good. Right? So, like, that was when he did his whole, like, live performance art of, like, I'm going to destroy my career thing. He did, like, the Letterman where he puts gum on the table and then says he's going to be a rapper, gains a bunch of weight. It's, like, amazing that you would do that. So I think, like, as a performance art piece, him destroying his career, totally amazing because we all believed it. We all bought into it. He's a genius. I mean, I became a Joaquin guy right after that. But that movie sucks. You know, because they don't tell you. So it's like just a documentary and it kind of just looks bad. Like they take the movie too seriously. I don't really know how you'd reveal it, but outside of like the context of when it came out and like, you know, you got to read about it. So anyway, long-winded way of just saying you shouldn't have to know things going in is my opinion. Because, I mean, a movie is released widely. You can't expect a bunch of people to, like, read your fucking brochure first so they understand everything, right? It's up to the filmmaker to make sure everybody gets what's going on, or at least the pieces are there for you to pick up what's going on, right? It doesn't need to be spelled out. Nobody likes that. Well, a lot of people like that. Considering the Avengers is the biggest, you know, whatever. We're not going to get into that either. Not even halfway through the cup, by the way. So, isn't it weird how, like, I'm all hopped up on caffeine, but I'm just, like, bouncing around? Like, I can't even keep a coherent thing. Watch Adaptation, okay? It'll blow your goddamn mind. I promise. And, like, I feel like the biggest deterrent will be, like, Nicolas Cage. Keep in mind, this was 2002. It was different, okay? And keep in mind, like, he's in the Coppola family. He's an Oscar winner. It's like, if the film's good, Cage is going to be good in it. You know, pretty much any actor's only as good as the script is a common thing. I don't know how true that is. Nick Cage is just the only guy who's a good actor that'll be in anything. Like, he'll be in anything. So it's like, if like Quentin Tarantino got Nicolas Cage, sure, it would be great. Nicolas Cage was great in Wild at Heart. You know, that was pre-Oscar. Barely, but you know what I mean? Like, he has his moments. He would have been amazing as Superman. We don't even need to get into Superman Lives right now because what a dream that would have been. Look that up if you haven't seen it. There's a movie about it also. Phenomenal. A nice little doc. But then we move on, okay? I cannot stress enough how much you should see Adaptation, though. Like, it's just like the levels of it blows my mind just thinking about it every time. And just a phenomenal movie. They, like, the Orchid game is crazy. That's all I got to say. And also the screenwriting game. Don't want anything to do with it. There's an incredibly cringeworthy scene where he, like, tries to ask a woman out, and it is like, bro, that is rough. Like, it is so painful what happens. And very terrifying for the future, you know? Definitely don't want to be alone when you're 45 or however old he wasn't 45, I don't think. But actually, maybe. It's just like, I can totally see it happening. Because eventually, you're going to need to just ask everybody. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, I'm old as shit right now, anybody that's remotely nice with a slight smile, I got to try to make a move. We got to get this train rolling, okay? It's been a long time. Just so that's frightening. But also, like, I will say I haven't been broad enough, I guess, with my topics on Kaufman, because he generally is great at that. It's always great at showcasing, like, little awkward moments, just human condition stuff. It's always like, oh, man, oh, I know what that is. You know what I mean? Like, being John Malkovich is kind of about, like, being a failure. You know what I mean? I mean, the guy plays a puppeteer, but, I mean, come on. You know, puppeteer. Jesus Christ. And that's the reaction they give him in the movie. But, you know, human nature. So it's always about that. Like, adaptation is about, like, the creative process and how he can't do it, all that stuff, but also about human connection. Then we go to Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Now, this was a Clooney-directed movie, I believe. And apparently he took the script and, like, fucked it all up, which is insane. Like, why even hire this guy to do it? Unless he wrote the movie first and then Clooney became attached. I don't really know the whole story. But, like, it's fine. I mean, I love Sam Rockwell. Ever since Charlie's Angels. Let's be honest. That's what drew me in. And, I mean, Drew Barrymore's in Confessions, too. So I don't know if they were just, like, filming those back-to-back. They came out, like, the same year, I think. So that's exciting. But, yeah, apparently the script was dramatically changed, which makes sense as to why the movie isn't that great. But interesting story. I mean, the host of The Gong Show claimed to be a CIA agent, and they kind of try to depict that as if it's real, but you can't really tell because we don't really know still, which is kind of annoying. When things like this happen, I just want to say, like, government, you know, if there's some dude who says he was CIA, just put a press release out. Say if it was true or not, and just be honest. What's the difference? You know, like, at this point, why don't we just admit whether or not that happened? I would like to know. Because now we got this movie, we got the book. We're just going to assume it's true. I kind of believed it, frankly. Wouldn't that be sick? If, like, your favorite silly game show host was just, like, fucking a CIA operative just taking people out in Prague on a Tuesday, comes back, what's behind door number 3? A fucking pistol. Bam. But that's definitely a skippable one. So I would say skip Confessions, skip Human Nature, just because you're not missing anything. And you're not really getting the essence of what, like, his films are. They have a fantasy, almost sci-fi element to them. I feel like when he's at his peak, okay, this is the point that's going to be really important for I'm thinking of ending things. If you look at Being John Malkovich, I guess I wouldn't call it sci-fi so much as fantasy because, like, there's no explanation as to what happens and why. But it's definitely rooted. Vin Diesel is deep in my brain. That's what that means. So that's a problem. But it's definitely rooted in that realm. You know what I mean? Like, some type of fantastical thing that couldn't really happen. Human Nature, same thing. It's about, like, a caveman who goes, whatever. Adaptation, I guess not so much, but, I mean, given that it's supposed to be based on a nonfiction book, definitely goes way off the rails and pretty extreme with it and goes into a lot of, like, just things within Charlie Kaufman's head and, like, I don't know. Since that one's more about, like, the creative process, it's a little bit different, but I would still put it in the same realm. Like, there's definitely a surrealist element. I guess that's one of the two things, or both, right? It's going to either be dreamlike. I guess that's a better way to put it. Or just a straight up, like, fantastical thing. I hesitate on dreamlike just because I know, like, Michel Gondry has that movie about sleeping, and that's also like Lynch's thing. So it's just like I don't want to root all surrealism and just lump it into the category of it's dreamlike. Because I also don't think that that's necessarily like a direct thing that Kaufman's going for like every time. Whereas David Lynch seems to be pretty fascinated by all that, and rightfully so. And they could not be more different, but I'm going to get to that comparison. So we move on to Eternal Sunshine. Also hits the same thing, sci-fi, fantasy, but also showing a dreamlike thing. You know, it takes place in people's heads. So there's all that, the surrealist element. Like, you don't really know what's going on, what's real at any time. It jumps around timelines. This was also, I saw this movie first, absolutely. Like I said, probably shortly after it came out, you know, like whenever it hit cable after, because it was definitely on like HBO or something like that. Probably saw it around that time. And I mean, to this day, the best Jim Carrey performance. It's not even close. And we're just like, bro, would you just make more dramas? I just don't get it. Like, we go back to Sandler in Uncut Gems. Just do it. I mean, I'm sorry. You're so good. It's like, why are you intentionally just making shit? I get you're probably having a good time, you know? But why can't you do like 4 for you and then like 1 for us? Because it's weird too. Like in Sandler's case, the 1 for us is the indie movie. You know, all the movies for Sandler are the mainstream ones. Those are the ones we don't want to see. It's fucking backwards. I'm sorry. I just rewatched The Wedding Singer. I'm just in a big Sandler mode. It's like, God, this guy's great. You know, somebody get this guy a good fucking movie to be in. Insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, Jim Carrey, fucking amazing. I mean, early Ruffalo, you know, young Elijah Wood. I think this was already after Lord of the Rings. But whatever. Doesn't matter. Just all stars across the board. Kate Winslet, unbelievable. Did she win an Oscar for this movie? I'm going to have to look. Because if not, it's like the Academy's just fucking pathetic. Yeah, because that was the $1 million baby year, so that's bullshit. Everyone else in the category, I don't even know. So, come on. Bullshit. Like, definitely not memorable is what I'm saying. Not that I don't know the actress, but you know what I mean? Like, Kaufman getting no love. However, he did get the screenplay award for this one, so pretty sick. But I mean, if you haven't seen Eternal Sunshine, come on. 2 lovers try to erase each other from each other's minds, and then they try to save each other from just, I guess, Jim Carrey's character's mind. But nothing more can be said. It's just fucking amazing. You don't really know what's going on at any time. The reveal is good. Keeps you guessing the whole time. And that's what a good Kaufman movie does. I mean, they're not predictable by any stretch of the imagination. If you think you know where it's going, you don't. I mean, it's one of those movies where you kind of wish you could go back and watch it for the first time again just to experience that realization of what's happening. But great movie. I mean, Kirsten Dunst is in it. Dunst? During the Spider-Man era? Like, just hitters across the board. I would say that in like all encompassing, it's probably the most like well-rounded, because like I don't think that there's a part that I don't want to see in this movie. Like, you look forward to every single part. And like I said, that's only not true in adaptation because it is so accurately cringy at times that it's just tough. It's just tough to watch a truly lonely man be truly lonely. I can't handle it. It's just like, I don't want to do that. So that's just a personal thing. And here's where we get into the tough stretch, I would say. Well, I think that this is where the argument comes in, that there's a tough stretch, right? So we hit Synecdoche, New York. Great name, very clever. Again, Philip Seymour. One of the best actors I've ever seen. Have you seen Along Came Polly? Doesn't get much better than that. But seriously, love Philip Seymour Hoffman. I don't know who was better. Frankly, like that's a tough call to say like who was better than him. Joaquin maybe at this point. He's maybe gotten there. But I think after The Master, like that's when they hit each other on the same level. But I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman just every time just hitters. He was unbelievable in this, carried the whole movie. Obviously, it's about his character. If you don't know what this is, this one was like way more under the radar. This was his directorial debut. So what I'm getting at is that I don't think he's a good director. I don't think he should direct his own movies. I think that if Synecdoche, New York was directed by either Spike Jonze or Michel Gondry, or someone new if he wanted to start another collab thing, I think it would have been better. I think that this lacked all the visually interesting things that would have happened. And I think that that remained true when I'm thinking of ending things. Again, we'll get there. Because boy, oh boy, do I have a lot to say. I'm just buttering y'all up. You hear this? This is good radio. You know what I mean? After the break, we're talking Cubs. First place. We're not talking Cubs, don't worry. But Synecdoche, New York is Philip Seymour Hoffman's character gets like a genius grant for his like artistic ability, whatever. So basically, he wants to make an experimental theater project that is just like New York City in reality. So the sets become more and more extravagant to the point where they're just like full on cities, and then it's like the play is within the play, and then there's like the play itself becomes so meta that like everyone is playing everyone, and it just like doubles, and it's basically this guy wants to work on it so bad that like his entire life passes by. So I'm sure some metaphor for how Charlie Kaufman is diving into these scripts and neglecting his family. But the illusion is like the passage of time keeps happening, and then a bunch of shit goes down in between, and then they kind of reveal it through the plot, or through the dialogue, which I don't like. Like, it's lazy. So this is the problem that I have with him directing his own movie, is that all the, like I said, all the visual elements go away. Like, there's a house that is permanently on fire in the movie, and it just doesn't work. Like, it's just dumb for me. I'm sorry. Like, as much as you might want, like, a better explanation, the things that happen in it are just like silly because there's no visual element in the storytelling. It's just like he literally just films exactly what he wrote. And I think he's better suited having a director take his work and do things with it. Now, maybe Synecdoche, New York would have been exactly the same. It's hard to say. But I don't think it worked. I mean, Roger Ebert loved it. He thought it was like the best movie of the decade. But the thing is, like, for a guy who's so big on his like thematic elements to his scripts, it's just like he went too far with it to where not enough just actually happens on screen. There's too much subtext going on where it's like, oh, I have to analyze all of it. I'm not really into that. You know, there's a weird thing where, I don't know, stuff keeps happening with like his daughter that doesn't make any sense. So you just got to watch it. I don't want to give anything away because it still is good. It still is interesting, but I would definitely put this on bottom tier. Kaufman, you know, I'll put this with Human Nature and Confessions, but it's like the best of the B team. You know what I mean? It's like about to get called up. I would call Synecdoche the sixth man of the Kaufman movies. Even though it's probably like the fourth or fifth best. You know, he just doesn't have that many. So that metaphor doesn't work out as great. But yeah, it's odd. And it's just not in the same way because the other movies are also odd. You know, they're about weird and strange things, like I said. But what makes those other ones good is that they're entertaining and they work as mainstream movies. I mean, because especially when they came out, we're talking early 2000s, there was no straight to Netflix. Just like I'm thinking of ending things was. There was no straight to anything. A studio was making your movie or it was an indie movie. Like, those were the two options. So these were like studio pictures coming out in theaters with everything else. And they had both, right? This is the key thing, I think. And this is my favorite thing, period, in movies, TV, and music. Always. This is like my genre. It's what is something that has a mainstream, wide audience appeal, but also doesn't compromise anything artistic and like tries to be its own. It tries to be unique. It can do both. Like, what can be both artistic and commercial, right? Because that's the sweet spot. You know what I mean? Like, I would say technically my favorite genre of music is like experimental pop, right? Because I like the weird shit. I like when shit goes down, but also like, I'm trying to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Which is the big point I have from thinking of ending things. Because Jesus Christ. But like that's where his appeal always lied. Being John Malkovich, like, you can sit through that movie, no problem. Adaptation, I don't think that these are like difficult to get through. Like, you want to know what happens. You're interested. The characters have depth. They're people. You care about them. You want to know where the story's going to go. And you don't know. Like, it pulls you in. It hooks you in. You're like, holy shit. Where, you know what I mean? It's unpredictable. It's a roller coaster. All the meanwhile, a bunch of smart, well-written things are being said. And you know what I mean? And these characters are amazing. And I think that starts to drop off with Synecdoche, New York. Right? Like, you can't be invested because it's just weird for being weird. It's like, look, this building's on fire. It's her apartment. We're just going to not talk about it. Not that I wanted them to talk about it. I think they mention it. But, like, that's not the point. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, look at how weird this is. And that was why I held off on saying that Kaufman stuff is surreal. I like saying it's more rooted in fantasy or sci-fi because those are the scripts that are good when the movie is about something. Like, it has a plot, and then like the fantastical element of it is intertwined within the plot, and it's a part of the movie. Whereas Synecdoche, New York is about a thing, and then just weird shit happens on top of it. Like, it's not organic. In Being John Malkovich, it's about a portal into a guy's mind. Weird shit's going to happen. Like, it's part of it. It's all one cohesive element. Same thing with, I guess you can say adaptation again. That one's just too crazy to really put it in a box. But Eternal Sunshine, same thing. Like, the entire plot is about a thing that doesn't exist. So they can get weird, and it takes place in someone's mind. Like, crazy shit should be happening. You know what I mean? Synecdoche, New York is a guy making a play. And like, like I said, it's like rich with a bunch of subtext, but like, there's a time and a place. You got to know what you're doing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just uneven in tone when your plot's pretty straightforward and then a bunch of shit just keeps happening. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. And I feel like maybe with a better director, it would make more sense. I don't know. I feel like maybe he wanted too much of his script in there. I don't really know. I don't know what gets cut, what doesn't get cut. All of that shit. It's too hard to gauge stuff like that, but it didn't work. Didn't work for me. Anyway, we're going to move on to Anomalisa now. So this is the counter argument for directing, but it's animated, so I feel like it's different. Directing an animated film, I feel like, is a lot different. I feel like you almost have to be involved in it for that to go your way. But this movie's cool, I think, because it's stop motion, but like intentionally looks as realistic as possible. So it's a little bit jarring. Like, they tried very hard to make all the models and sets just look real. And it's cool. This movie's about a guy who is, he's like some traveling salesman ace guy who does those lame like marketing convention speeches at hotels. and he's like a god to sales guys. You know, one of those generic stories. It's similar to Up in the Air, which overrated also. Man, I'm really bagging on Clooney this episode. Sorry, George. Maybe we'll even that out at some point. But the cool thing is everyone he sees has the same face and the same voice, you know, very clever metaphor for like not knowing anybody and just traveling around being lonely, same thing. So it explores regular Charlie Kaufman things, but is a little bit weird, a little bit off. And then he meets a woman who he can actually see her face and hear her voice. And he's like, you know, enthralled that he's actually excited about something for once. And some cool stuff happens. But just on a technical level, it's dope to watch. It's short. It's very short, which is probably what makes it so good. If this one was stretched out into 2 hours like all of his other stuff, I don't think that it would be very effective. But interesting to see him make an animated film, like as unexpected as it gets. Probably what I would have said about Wes Anderson when he did that. And in a similar way to Wes Anderson, they both like really did their own thing with their animation. And it's very uniquely a Charlie Kaufman movie and an animated movie. So I'm going to put that one rounds out the A tier. Okay, so my ranking is Adaptation 1, Sunshine 2, Malkovich 3. Okay. Then we probably go Anomalisa 4, Synecdoche 5. I guess Dangerous Minds 6. Human Nature 7. And definitely I'm thinking of ending things last at 8, which we are going to dive into right now, unfortunately. I fucking hated this movie. I was so excited, okay? Love Charlie Kaufman. Couldn't be happier he had a new movie coming out. Netflix exclusive. Jesse Plemons is in it, who, as I think I've said before, is the next Michael Shannon, even as Michael Shannon continues to roll strong. Feel like they could be pretty much interchangeable in anything. You know, probably except Breaking Bad, just because of age. And on that note, I will say, just for the record, all the performances are great. I would pretty much say that this is entirely on Charlie Kaufman as a total shit show, and I don't understand how this has like even good reviews. This movie fucking sucked. It was horrible. I mean, I wanted to like it. I found myself checking how much time was left constantly. You know? And it's 2 hours and 15 minutes long. An hour in, I was like, this has to be almost over. And I almost shut it off. And then, you know, I looked up the summary of the plot and I found out that things changed a little bit right after the point I was at. Shouldn't have kept going. I just kept saying, like, maybe this will get better. Maybe it'll pivot. And it just didn't. And it's like, I wanted to like it. I didn't know anything about it going in. And that's probably the worst thing that's true. Without context, like I had to look, so this movie's based on a novel. With no context of knowing what the novel is about, this movie is completely unredeemable as far as I'm concerned. It makes no goddamn sense. And I think that he was just up his own ass this whole time, which you would think was true the whole time. I mean, he literally threw himself into his own screenplay for adaptation and says that that's a thing you shouldn't do in the movie. You know? Could not be more clear about how, like, that is technically incorrect. This is just like, my guess is he's just like, I know how to write scripts better than anybody. Look at how good this script is. You know what I mean? It's like a writer's fucking wet dream, probably. Like, look at all the things I packed into this that you have to analyze. No. This is where the surrealism thing comes into the thing. It comes into the conversation for me, because what the fuck? He shouldn't be doing surrealist things. That's the point. Like, anytime I've mentioned that it's surreal, like with Synecdoche, it doesn't work. Because he just throws it on the top. It's like not a part of it. Basically, I'm just going to fucking say it. The book is about a couple who goes to see the boyfriend's parents. The girlfriend wants to break up with the guy. Came on the trip reluctantly. She's like, fuck it. We'll go on this. I'll break up with him after. They just go see his parents. Okay? And the big reveal is that it's like a big twist. Okay? But the whole thing is like unnerving. It's like a psychological thriller. This movie is fucking boring. There's no thriller elements to it. Like, it kind of gets there. It, like, hints at, like, this might be, like, a horror movie. It kind of has, like, a Get Out vibe or, like, I don't know, that M. Night Shyamalan movie where, like, the parents get replaced. Just, like, a thing like that. You go to the house, things are uneasy. It seems like it might be a trap. You know? They, like, hint that maybe this girl's in trouble. Like, maybe. But then they, like, retract it and just go away. And it's just like, nope, actually, this is just weird. Isn't this weird? It's like... yeah, it is, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, they don't commit to anything, and it's basically Charlie Kaufman, like, saw this or read this book and saw it as his way to just throw in a bunch of speeches about existential stuff and shout out to writers he likes, or, hey, I'm going to make fun of intellectuals. Boom. Let's mesh all of these ideas that aren't related together and throw it at the fucking wall, and guess what? Nothing sticks. You know? It's just like, oh, these characters are going to say a bunch of lines of dialogue that are probably technically really clever and profound and, like, referencing something that you don't get unless you went to Harvard or whatever. That's my guess, frankly, because it must have gone over my head. That's the only thing I can think of, because what the fuck? I mean, constantly, they'll just... a character will say one thing, and then the other character will respond with a completely disjointed and unrelated thing. And it doesn't land as, oh, this is weird. It's just like, no, this just sucks. This just isn't good. It's just people saying random things to each other. You know? And they try to make it seem like, oh, the female character doesn't have a real thing of reality, because, oh, all the little details keep changing. But, like, it's not in, like, a subtle way. It's not in an eerie way. You don't feel any of it happen. It just happens. Because I don't think he has the command as a director. Like, it just doesn't showcase what it's trying to be. There are no... I don't know. Unless I'm just impervious to thrillers now, which I don't think is true. Just fucking nonsense. It was just fucking nonsense. It reminded me of, like, Southland Tales, if you've ever seen that. Just a fucking shit show. It's just a bunch of nonsense happening back and forth. And everybody's like, oh, look at how deep. It's not. I'm sorry. And if it is, then I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, either way. It's just, like, so disappointing. It reminded me of also, like, Us, like Jordan Peele's Us. I thought that was fucking horrible, too. The thing is, like, it's cool if, like, you're like, okay, I'm going to write a bunch of really deep things into this movie. Here are my themes. Check out all these themes I have. It's like, yeah, great themes, buddy. The movie still has to be good. You know what I mean? Your entire movie can't be good based on, again, like, context. You know what I mean? Like, oh, if I read a bunch of articles and then piece the plot of the book together, and maybe if I read the book, then maybe I can get this. It's like, no. The point is, like, is this good? Like, when I watch it, am I entertained? It's just like, yeah, you want to be weird, you want to be deep. I still want to like the movie. You know? Whereas it's just, like, the parents are just weird and creepy and not in a horror way. You know what I mean? Like, they're literally just, like, weird. It's just like, here, look at these off-kilter people being, like, annoying. Frankly. It's just like everybody in the movie is just, like, annoyed with each other or talking in a weird voice or yelling or rambling. Nobody's ever interesting. They never give you a reason to care about anybody because nothing real ever happens. And I don't know. It's all just nonsense. And it doesn't go for it full throttle either. So that was where the Lynch comparisons come from. It's like amateur hour in comparison, right? David Lynch also only has 8 movies. But over the course of like 40 years, you can't just like swing dick and all of a sudden here's your surreal movie. It's like, no. You have to believe in this stuff. You can't just chuck shit in and pepper it on top. Has to be, like I said, it has to be in the story. Nothing in the story is inherently like anything else in the movie. Because also, like, the main part of this movie, it's supposed to be like, oh, here's a big existential crisis, but it's just people rambling a bunch of nonsense. Disjointedly. Again, I've repeated myself like 4 times. That's all I'm going to say. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because Charlie, I mean, my expectations were through the roof, and I could not be more bummed out. I don't understand the critical thing with this. How did people think this was good? You know, it's either you just have to rep Kaufman, maybe you don't want to look dumb. But come on, what a sad attempt at whatever this was supposed to be. It was fucking nonsense. Okay? And then you read the summary of what the book's about, and it's like, oh, well, that would have been better. That sounds like that would be a cool-ass movie, frankly. And it's like, how do we strip it away of all entertaining things? How do we make all of this completely dumb? How do we put no real characters in this movie? And that's like what Us was. Us sucked. Okay? Maybe Jordan Peele is brilliant. You know, I think the jury's still out because right now he's 1 for 2. Don't understand how everybody repped that movie so hard. It sucked. It sucked. Like, I get it. You want him to be the next guy. Doesn't mean you have to like the movie. You know, it made a lot of money. Give him another movie. Don't tell me that was good. Fuck off. It's pretentious. Give me that over artsy shit. That's what I'm saying. Like, I want to like the movie. I don't want to like the script. You know, it's like, damn, that was well written. Technically, even though I didn't like it. Well, what's the fucking point then? So anyway, that movie ranks dead fucking last. I would rather watch Human Nature every day in my life. Again, not that it's like terrible, but I will never watch I'm Thinking of Ending Things again. There is no like, oh, maybe I missed something. There's no way. There's no way. I looked at the thing and saw that there was 30 minutes left, and I was like, dude, I don't know if I can make it. It was grueling. So, just a heads up, if you're thinking about watching that, be ready to be fucking disappointed. And if you liked it, let me know why. You know, call me out. Pretend like you're really smart. And pretend like it was good. That's fine. We can talk about it. I honestly didn't expect the Kaufman thing to go this long. But it's good. You know, drank a whole cup of coffee and filled out an episode. So, hope you're interested, because that certainly lasted a long time. But now we're going to swing around. I realize that I should be saving sports for the end. I know that that's more the marginalized audience. Marginalized? Incorrect usage of words. Take that back. But this is what we do at this show. See what I mean? I let it go, and then I take it back. I could easily just stop this recording, go back, delete it, make it seem like it didn't happen. No. I'm a person. And y'all are going to see where I'm at. So, anyway. Not marginalized. But the smaller corner of the base, I get it. So, here we go into sports corner, I guess, is what that's called. Boy, I really keep just clearing my throat right into the mic. If I do it again, I will go back and delete it, even though I just talked about how I won't do that. Don't worry. I got you. So I'll just say, obviously, my NBA predictions didn't go very well. Didn't put a lot of thought into them, although I would have taken the Bucks to make it to the finals no matter what. They were better than everybody. So, I mean, that's just on Giannis for not stepping up. Kind of embarrassing, frankly. The Celtics did win, though, so I got that sleeper pick still going, although the Heat will probably beat them. The Rockets obviously didn't go well, but I've been watching. So I'm just going to make my, I guess, predictions for the rest of the way just to kind of redeem myself. I'm going to take the Clippers going to the finals just because I do not like LeBron James, and I don't think the Lakers are good, really. I mean, obviously, James and Davis, like, killer combo. Those two, better than your two. But the rest of the team, pretty whack. Do love Rondo, though, especially in the playoffs. Rajon Rondo, in, like, 2010, I used to get so much shit in high school because I used to say that he was the best point guard in the NBA, which was true, and I meant truly that. Like, not the best player that played point guard, the best, like, true to his position point guard. In 2010, was 100% Rajon Rondo. Nobody could pass like that guy. Nobody had handles like that guy at the time. I got a lot of shit because, you know, the Bulls had Derrick Rose. So everybody's like, dude, fuck you. Derrick Rose is the best point guard. And I'm just like, yeah, but he's not. You know, get your homer shit out of here. If we're going to talk, let's talk. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, Rondo's huge. So I guess they're big three now. Heat Celtics is tough. I want to take the Celtics, but the Heat are so good. I'm going to take the Heat. I think we're going to see LA Miami. And I hope Jimmy Butler takes him fucking down, because I still rep Butler, even though he left. God, being a Chicago fan is pretty tough. Because right now, what do we have? We have the Cubs and the Sox, both in first place in the ghetto baseball season that doesn't matter. You know? We got Trubisky starting, and it's like, either way, again, it's a lose-lose. The best case scenario is that we go 3-0, Trubisky plays like shit the whole time, then in Game 4, he plays so bad that he finally costs us a game. Like, he almost costs us a game every time, but we somehow get bailed out, right? We start at 3-0, and it's like, Jesus, how is he playing? And it's like, yeah, but they're 3-0, right? So you kind of can't argue it. Then he just really shits the bed Game 4, and then we're like, all right, Foles is going the rest of the way. Boom. Or, you know, we go like 6-2, and then that happens, or maybe he gets hurt. I don't want him to get hurt, though. You know, I don't want to predict a scenario where a guy gets hurt. That's never cool. And I've slowly realized just how weird it is, how much we normalize that. That it's like, oh, tore his ACL, he's out. It's like, can you imagine the pain that man must be going through? And it's just like, yeah, he broke his elbow. He'll be out for 2 weeks. It's like, he broke his elbow? That sounds terrible. Anyway. So that's my slightly bold NBA prediction. It's not bold at all. There's only fucking going to be 4 teams left. Watch the Clippers lose to the Nuggets. Hasn't even gone on yet. So yeah, anyway, the reason why I pointed out at the beginning that I was recording this on Sunday morning is because obviously the NFL season starts today. I was going to record tomorrow and do this, and then get my prediction. So anyway, what I'm doing now is I'm going to give division winners and then wild card prediction winners, and then maybe I'll do like a Super Bowl thing. But I'm never good at the Super Bowl thing. It never works out. It's like I can kind of pick how the playoffs will go once they're set. Early season predictions are the hardest thing to do. You know, goes without saying because you never know what the fuck's going to happen. And I wanted to do it on Monday because I thought that would be interesting to watch week 1, and then I could react and overreact on all of my picks, but I didn't want it to affect my decision making. I wanted to have final decisions and not have them be compromised by any type of information bias, you know. And I know that the Thursday game happened already, but it didn't really affect anything for me. I think we all knew the Chiefs were going to beat the Texans. Also, I will just say on that game, I understand that, like, the Sunday Night Football, their thing is that they have to have a narrative. Like, they're, even as commentators, like, it's a production and it's a show that they're trying to put on. And they really want to fill I don't like it, frankly, but their narrative was that the Texans are somehow better without DeAndre Hopkins. And they're like, oh, well, now Deshaun Watson doesn't have a crutch. It's like, that's the best thing you could want. You know, like they're trying to make it seem like they're the Rockets and now the floor's opened up that they got rid of Clint Capella. It's like football doesn't work like that. You want a guy to attract a lot of attention. Then that's what opens it up for other people. So I don't know where they thought that narrative would make sense. Did Bill O'Brien like tip them off and say, oh no, it makes a lot of sense. This is what we're doing. You're not better without the third best receiver in the NFL, arguably the best, whatever. I just said third. It's just what came out. Fucking stupid. Okay? Nobody thought that was a good trade ever before this, leading up to it. So don't go into this game and act like, oh, now the offense is going to open up. What are you talking about? Would the Saints be better without Michael Thomas? You're saying he has too many catches? They throw it to him too much? It's like he catches the, you know what I mean? He catches the ball. Fuck ton of yards, fuck ton of touchdowns. What are you talking about? It's not like you're chucking the ball and it never works. Why would you not want DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, I'm asking that for the Texans. Obviously, nobody knows why they would do that, but I just, on a commentator level, like, the fact that you could even try to spin that narrative is insane. I don't get why these shows, they want to have these takes that are just hot for the sake of being hot. Well, and then it results in this. I get it. They got the reaction out of me. It worked. But it's like, there's no way you think that. There's no way you think that. Come on. Like, there's a reason why they fucking sucked. You know what I mean? DeAndre Hopkins wasn't there. There was no one else to throw to. There was no main guy. Come on. That's basic. Y'all are better than that. Anyway. So I'm just going to go division by division. I'm going to pick winners and wild card, I guess, for each conference as well. Now, 3 wild card teams this year, so that's exciting. That allows me opportunities to not fuck this up. You know what I mean? It just gives me more options. Be like, well, I didn't win the division, but I was right about them making the playoffs. I can make a lot of excuses. So, diving in. Let's start with the AFC East. I'm just going to go in order of the standings. So I'm going to pick the Bills to win. I mean, come on. They're going to make the jump, I think. And the thing is that I'm picking New England as a wild card team. Okay? I don't understand the narrative that they're like going to suck this year. They improved at quarterback for their team, at least. Let's just be honest. They went 12-4. Everybody wants to act like because the second half wasn't good. Their record was still 12-4. It's not the end of the world. And I get it. It's the Patriots. Higher standards. You want to act like everything's a bigger deal. It's not a big deal. It's really not. Brady just didn't fit in the offense anymore. The skill position guys just weren't ready. Maybe they're still not. I don't know. But come on. The defense is still going to be great. Yeah, they had the opt-outs. You're trying to tell me that they're not going to be... They always fill in the holes. It's just insane to discount it now. I just think the Bills might win 12, 13 games themselves. Patriots might lose a couple more. They're going to win 10, 11 games. Get the fuck out of here. 9-7 is probably their floor, as far as I'm concerned. 8-8. But, come on. Stop with that nonsense. And, if they finally have a losing season, then so what? Frankly. The fact that they have won 12 games every year for 20 fucking years, it's like, let them have one anyway. Not that people are saying it would be crazy if they had a bad season, but I'd be fine with it either way. I don't see how this team is like bad now. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, they lost to the Dolphins. They've lost to the Dolphins before. It's not that crazy. I get that team wasn't that good. So what? You lose games. They only went undefeated once, and then they still lost. You always lose to somebody. It's just how it works. So everybody relax on that. Now, I want to be bold and say that the Bengals are going to make it when I look at the AFC North. Baltimore's going to win the division. Everybody picking Pittsburgh. Like, oh, look at my clever idea. No, come on. The Ravens are going to win 12 games at least. Again, it's just on that alone. Steelers will make the playoffs. Do I have them picked? Yeah, I do. There's 3 slots. Next division, Tennessee. How does nobody think that they're going to make the leap? They made it to the title game, and everybody's like, yeah, they're going to go 8-8. Are you out of your fucking mind? They're going to go up. Plus, they got Jadeveon Clowney now. I think that they win 11, 12 games. Like, I think them and the Bills are going to be like, oh, we're elite teams now, at least for a year. Who knows about longevity? The Colts are going to suck. I don't know how anybody's picking the Colts. Why would you bring Phillip Rivers in? You're ruining all the continuity you had with Brissett all year. He only started to play poorly once he got hurt, and he just never got better. That's not on him. And Vinatieri was missing all those kicks. They should have made the playoffs even as is. And you know what I mean? I don't see what an aging Phil Rivers does. Because then if your goal is to win, you're not going to get a high enough draft pick to get a new hot young quarterback. So what, you're just going to go back to Brissett? It's like, why even bring in another guy? Doesn't make sense. So I think that that's going to fuck them up. And plus, I mean, T.Y. Hilton's never going to last a year. I have Houston as a wild card team because I think Deshaun Watson is elite enough that he's just one of those guys. He brings his team to the playoffs. That's how it's going to be, I think, going forward. He's got the extension now. Like, he's not on a rookie deal, so you can't act like he's a young quarterback. He's getting paid big money. You got to bring your team to the playoffs every year, or at least close. You know what I mean? Elite guys make it just about every year. So I think that they're a wild card team. Because again, like, yeah, they lose DeAndre Hopkins. They're still going to move the ball. It's not like their offense is terrible. Now, hopefully Will Fuller can stay healthy, but that seems unlikely. So what do we got? So far, I have New England, Pittsburgh, and Houston as the wild cards. So that means none left, which is fine because Kansas City's obviously going to win the West. If that doesn't happen, biggest shocker of the year. Something terrible would have to happen. Just knocked on wood because, I want to see them. They're going to be the Patriots now. Mahomes is unstoppable. And that Thursday game, all it did was remind me we could have had either one of these guys, and we have neither. And life is rough. You know what I mean? It's like football season's back. Oh, Bears fans, be depressed. You could have had either one of these guys, and you don't. Imagine if Mitchell Trubisky was on the Texans in that game. It stays 31-7. I don't know if there even is a 7. That might just be a shutout. Horrendous. I'll never get over it. Like, unless we win a Super Bowl in the next amount of years, next 2 years, 3 years, with him or without him. You know what I mean? If the moves all even out to where we still end up winning a title somehow, I'll forgive it. But that's not going to happen. And it's very upsetting. Moving on to the NFC. See, I feel like I kind of know what I'm talking about in football. I prepared. You know what I mean? I pay attention. NBA picks were rough. I know. I kind of did it hastily. I didn't really plan it. It's probably my biggest regret of all time. Just kidding. Man, I'm really hopped up on that coffee still, so I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. NFC. What's up? Not a good conference, in my opinion. But here we go. East, Dallas. I think that division sucks. The Eagles hype. Everybody acts like they're still good from the Super Bowl. That was a fluke team. Can we just admit it? They already have announced that Miles Sanders is out. I mean, they can't keep teams healthy. They need to redo their entire training staff, I think, because they're clearly not protecting their guys, or they need to redo their scouting and get more durable guys. Don't know what to recommend. But, I mean, come on. I just don't get it. I don't see it happening. I think Dallas will win more games with a real head coach. And, I mean, apparently CeeDee Lamb's the best receiver on the team, which I hope is true because I got him on my fantasy team. I don't know how that team fucked up that bad down the stretch. Their offense was amazing, so the fact that they didn't win more games is pathetic. I think that they'll turn around, and I think that that's Dallas's thing, right? 1 year, they go 12-4, 13-3, and then everybody thinks they're good for 3 or 4 years, and then they'll do it again. And they finally meet their expectations. So we have them again, and it just resets. I think now they're due for a good winning year. Do they go far in the playoffs? Probably not. Also, I love Kellen Moore. Big Kellen Moore guy. Don't have anybody else making it. Fuck the Eagles. Yeah. Now, the North. Oh, I'm not going to pick the Bears. I don't think that they're going to win the division. I'm going to pick the Packers. They went 13-3. So, we can't say that they're not that good. Maybe they intentionally, they did enough to win 13 games. We can't act like they suck and barely scraped by. You can't accidentally win 13. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they were supposed to only win 10 based on talent. But, you can't be like a 6-win team and end up winning 13. So, they're good. And trust me, as a guy who's watched Aaron Rodgers tear us the fuck up every year, he still got it. He weirdly no longer sets his feet to throw ever. I noticed this, just a couple times I watched him last year, including the playoffs. Every single throw, he throws, his shoulders are square, but his feet are just forward. He has a normal stance. But then when he goes to throw it, it's like he's literally just standing still, and he throws flat-footed every time. It's we get it, man. You're talented, but there's a reason why you're sailing all these balls, dude, if you would just keep your form. So maybe his knee was messed up last year. Maybe that lingered. I don't know. But he may be even better. Their whole thing about we need receivers. I mean, yes. Who doesn't? You always want more weapons, but just having Devontae Adams steps your shit up. It's like having DeAndre Hopkins. You know what I mean? You got an elite guy. Stop complaining. Partially. The inverse of that is on the Bears. I feel so bad for Allen Robinson. He might technically be the best receiver in the NFL. The fact that he had 1,000 yards last season, when the offense was fucking abysmal, they couldn't do anything. If you don't remember, there was a point where Matt Nagy just took a knee to kick a field goal because he's like, we couldn't throw because they knew it, so we couldn't run it because they knew we weren't going to throw. It's yeah, man, it's called situational football. You have to beat the other team. So, but just that much of a lack of confidence. I still have the Bears as a wild card team. That is a homer pick. Won't deny it. The defense is unbelievably good. The offense was so bad that's a 3-win offense. And we won 8 games. That defense is unbelievable. I think we get a little bit more of a turnover bump because we went crazy 2 years ago. That season will haunt my brain the way the Safdie brothers talked about the Knicks when they had Carmelo and they were good for a moment. The Bears season 12-4 2 years ago is going to haunt me, just like the Bulls when they had 62 wins. It's just we were right there. The defense is good. I think they'll get some turnovers back. Okay? So they're wild card 1 for me. Next division. I have New Orleans and Tampa Bay making it. I don't know who's going to win. I'm going to pick New Orleans just because, that's the team that's been around. Tampa Bay's going to be good. They're going to be good. Brady wouldn't have gone. They're going to make the playoffs. Do they do well? I don't know. It's going to be hard to see. I don't know. I'm interested to see if they're going to shift the offense to be a little more Brady suitable, a little less Arians heavy. We'll see. They have the running backs, too, that they can just run it 30 times, 40 times a game if they really wanted to. So, I mean, the balance could be there. Very interested to see. They're easily the most interesting team going into the year. But New Orleans is going to win. I mean, I think that even if Jameis ends up having to come in again because Breeze gets hurt again or whatever, I think he'll be fine. That's the thing. Everybody acts like, here's who he is. Here's who he is. It's like the dude's 24, 25, however old he is. If somebody would just make an effort, it's weird that the NFL just figured out that you should build your system around your players and not just plug people into the system regardless of their fit. And then you're surprised when a guy doesn't succeed. It's like, well, you're not playing to any of his strengths. So maybe give that a try. Just me, though. We'll see. And then San Francisco. So yeah, wow. The NFC West is the best division in the NFL. That's my bold statement. But I mean, top to bottom, they're all capable of winning the division, I think. Arizona would be the long shot, obviously, because their record wasn't good and has yet to be good. But Kyler Murray will probably step up, you know. But I don't think that they'll make the playoffs. So I already have 2 wild card spots. Who's going to get the last one? Bold. This is my only bold pick. It's not. I just don't think the 49ers are going to make the playoffs. I got Seattle winning the division. Russell Wilson, come on. DK Metcalf was unbelievable as a rookie, only going to improve, you know. I just got him, and I got the Rams coming back for the wild card. I don't know if it's a Hard Knocks bias. Should learn that you should never deal with that. Speaking of which, didn't even mention the Chargers. Fuck them, you know. Yeah, I just think the Super Bowl drop-off, that's like always a thing. The Rams themselves didn't make the playoffs after losing in the Super Bowl. I don't think the Niners should have been 13-3. And the fact that everybody was just like, the Niners are going to win, the Niners are going to win. All of a sudden, everybody just forgets that like playoff experience matters. And like you have to make it, lose, go back the next year, and then you have a shot. That's what happened with Seattle when they first had their come up. It's what happens with every team. You know what I mean? Like you have to be good first. Then you can win. Very rarely are you going to be able to just walk right in. You know? It's like, I guess like in basketball, the Clippers, you could kind of say that, but like Kawhi's done it. So it's different. You know, the Lakers haven't done it either, but LeBron's done it. So it makes sense. But nobody's like, the Celtics are going to do it. No, it's like they're a year away. Now, they easily might. You know what I mean? But it's not something you can easily predict in that regard. So that's just my thing. I never understood. Like, I was like, I'm picking the Chiefs just because, well, Patrick Mahomes. But they were in the AFC title game last year, and they lost, which means their next step is to go one step further. The Niners, first year, out of nowhere. Jimmy G, like, first time even being in the playoffs. You know. I do think that the narrative that they don't trust him, so they only threw 10 balls or whatever, 6, 8, however few, it's just like, why wouldn't you do that? If you could. If you could run it 40 times for 300 yards and never need to throw it, that sounds like a really, really safe and awesome game plan. You know? Like, it's not about stats. It's about winning. You know? I don't know. Is he an elite? Elite? No. But I'll take him over what we got. You know what I mean? Especially because he's the hometown hero, Jimmy G. Jimmy G. But yeah, so I think that they're going to miss the playoffs. They probably won't, but I just don't have any more wildcard spots because I picked the Bears. I used my own bias to cut the NFC champions out of the playoffs completely because I do think the Rams will make it back. So those are my NFL spots. There we go. We'll see how that goes. Might not go well, but kickoff's in a couple hours. Gonna have to go get myself at least a 12-pack of beer to last the day. And football season's back. It's the best shit ever. Best time of the year. Fall's about to start. You know, keep wearing your mask, because shit's about to hit the fan in that regard, but as long as the season keeps churning. Sunday, Monday, Thursday, every day's the best day of the week during football season. Which isn't true, but God, I love Sundays. Not as much as I love Tuesdays, though. So we'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please rate, review, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at adam.rfat. Link in bio takes you all the cool stuff. Send us some email. What do you got? What thoughts you got? Yell at me about how dumb all my opinions just were today. rfatpodcast@gmail.com. And we're going to bounce. before we do, just remember, I are fat, you are fat, we are fat. Calculator, everybody.